Everybody, welcome back to the Outsider's Perspective podcast. Man, it's been a while. Man, I've been on a journey. I'm so grateful to those of you that are now showing interest into my new podcast, and I'm glad to be bringing you this content because it is so near and dear to me. It's been a while. Life has gotten in the way, but let's just keep it moving forward. Last night, I went and had a conversation with a woman that spent 27 years in prison. And man, first of all, during the first season production of this show, I was part of this group on Facebook, and I made a post asking if there was anybody that wanted to speak about any injustices that they had. And this woman sent me some voice notes that I I'm gonna definitely have to share with you, and I'm gonna play the voice notes before I play the full interview. So
Mr. Jaleel, I don't know if I said your name right, but my name is Kamika Turner, and I did 27 years. I was incarcerated. And the things that I saw and the things that I witnessed, if anybody in the public even had remotely of a small bit of humanity, they wouldn't have allowed the things that go on inside those prison systems that go on. And the reason it go on is because people don't care. Once you're convicted of a crime, you're nobody. You're no one. You're like the scum of the earth. You did something wrong, so everybody hates you for it. And the officers that work there, even if you come into that place and you do not have that frame of mind and you want to be that person that makes a difference, you can't, because the odds are stacked against you. First of all, you're ostracized by the people you work with because you care. And you do have some incarcerated people that don't care about themselves, so therefore they don't care about the officers. And it's sad but true. And to me, all of this is the parole board's fault. And judges, you give these children 18, 17, 16, 15 so much time to where they have no hope. And they get inside of it and they see no light at the end of their tunnel. Sorry, I had a slight interruption. But they see no light at the end of the tunnel. The parole board gives them nothing to work toward. Like, educate themselves. They give us groups. They give us these groups, and you can go or you don't have to go. We really don't care. We'll find somebody to fill them. And if you do take them, it's on you, because you will sit here and take this group and this trade, and you will still do 20 and 30 years, and you won't. When are you going to use it? I took this group in this trade when I was 19, 20, 21. Now I'm 50 and I'm still incarcerated. I don't forgot everything that I took. I don't forgot everything that I learned because I have nothing to work toward. But I want to educate myself. But I keep educating myself. But I see no light at the end of this tunnel. The younger ones, they don't care. They don't. Because nobody's giving them anything to care about. Not even themselves. You get inside of there, and the food and the way that the system is now, it's just terrible. I don't even have enough time to sit down and explain to you how terrible our judicial system is. And it starts at the top and it ends at the bottom with our prisons. But it starts at the top. And I'm not trying to take up for people who commit crimes. Of course you should be punished. Of course. But what am I doing to you by taking you and locking you up and throwing you somewhere in a deep, dark hole, and then let you out 30 and 40 years later and expect for you to be able to come back out here and survive and prosper and be a good citizen? How's that even possible? When you've kept me locked up and treated me like an animal, and now you let me out and expect for me to be human and act like a human? That's not even possible. That's absurd. But then y'all sit there and everything looks good on paper, but that's not how it is inside of the system. Anytime they have visitors, oh, they clean it up and make it look good. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they clean it up. They make it look good. But that's not really how it is. All that stuff y'all see on television, most of that stuff's true. It is. Sad, but true. I have friends now that are locked up because now the new thing is if you have victims' family and they say no, then you're not getting out. You're not. And if the victim's family keeps, I don't care how many denials you get. If the victim's family say they don't want you out, you're not getting out. I know of at least 10 other inmates that got locked up before me, and some during the time I was locked up. And I got more time than they have. But just because I didn't have a victim's family to get up and they say me, I got the opportunity to leave that hellhole. But their victim's family, who is full of hatred and unforgiveness, saying that they don't want them to leave, and the parole board is listening to them. I don't know if they're paying them, and most of them, or the victim's family, they have a little bit of money. So I don't know if that's got anything to do with it. I can't prove any of that. All I can tell you is my gut. That's all I'm speaking from. But being inside the prison system and watch all the stuff that goes on inside of that I can't prove, but I was a witness to. And I saw this. Like, women inside of a women's prison is about the worst. I can remember days when we got 5 tampons and 5 pads. And that's all you're going to get for the whole month in one roll of toilet paper. I am a woman. And this is what you do. You give me 5 tampons and 5 pads. So all day long, I'm crying and I'm embarrassed and I'm hurt because I don't have anything else. I'm a woman. That's inhumane. I worked the kitchen for about 8 years. And the stuff that I saw in there, it's just... And me and my friends, we tried to clean it up. We tried to make it better because we was like, what if this was us? But then you got some people that don't think like that. You know, the staff didn't care. Dirty plates, who cares? We got maggots over here. We got rats over here. We got roaches crawling over everything. Rats crawling over. Who cares? The inmates have to eat this crap. So staff really don't care. Inmates do as much as they can to actually care. But then they get to the point where they don't care. Because nobody else cares and nobody else tries to help. It's in medical. I can't even speak on medical. How many of my friends I watched die because of cancer and other stuff, and because medical refused to pay or refused to take care of them. So let's hide them up in the infirmary and wait for them to die. I saw this. I witnessed this. I stayed up all night crying and praying because I saw this. And it hurt. It did. And how could another person do that to another human being? I do not know. But it happened numerous times. But we can't do anything. That's what they say. You are so full of it.
When I heard the absolute pain in this woman's voice, I knew that she was someone that needed to speak. I knew that she needed to let this off of her chest. And I feel like The conversation that I had was therapeutic for the both of us. And I'm so grateful to be bringing this to you. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Right. I'm here with Miss Kamika Turner, the woman that spent 27 years inside the Georgia um, Department of Corrections. So I'm just here to hear her story, have her share with you guys.
Yeah. I'm Kamika Turner. I did 27 years inside Georgia Department of Corrections. And the things that I saw and the things that I was a part of is, and the things that you have to do in there to actually survive is inhumane, period. And I could talk all day long about the things that happen inside of a prison. And more than likely, you've seen it on television. The stuff you see on television is somewhat true. And that's how it goes on the inside. But what I really want to talk about today is the parole board and how unfair and injustice they are. And I'm a prime example of how justice doesn't work. I'm a lifer. I had a charge of murder, aggravated, murder, armed robbery, and armed robbery, two charges of armed robbery. So they gave me 20 years of both, and I had a murder charge. And I had life, which was 14 years. They passed the law back in June of 1996, 95. I missed it just by a split second of being 7 years, but it really wouldn't matter because I got a 14-year life sentence and I had life plus 40 years. And I have friends in there that have a 7-year life sentence and they don't have any plus certain years. But just because I do not have victims' family, I had a chance to actually get out. Not saying that I didn't want to or I didn't deserve it, but how is that fair for me to actually leave before them? They're doing 30 something years. And just because they have victims' family, and the victim's family come up and say they hadn't done enough time, how is that fair to let somebody who's done a worse crime than somebody than somebody else, and they're still inside of that prison system, and just because the unfairness of, well, they have nobody to speak up and say they want to keep them in, you let them out, and that's our justice system. How is that fair? The president has to answer to somebody.
Right.
The governor has to answer to somebody. Who does the parole board answer to? Not
anybody.
nobody. The parole board has no one to answer to. They can say anything. If I was the parole board, it would give me a godlike complex. Right. Sure. And if I was the FBI, I probably could sneak into some bank accounts and see if something fishy's not going on. Yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying the parole board has to answer to nobody. So me and my friends, we sat down and we wrote this thing up. It was sort of like a petition for a class. And it was to get a second panel. If the parole board gives out 3 denials, it should have to go to a second panel and they should be able to look at it. And people went saying, oh, we got clemency. No, the parole board has the clemency in the chokehold. If clemency says you can go, the parole board still get the last say. The parole board say no, clemency say yes, the parole board still says no. You're not going anywhere. So what's the point in having clemency?
Definitely never understood that. The thing about the parole board that I don't understand, they judge you based off of paper. Back in the days, they used to come and sit down and talk to you and see if you're ready to re-enter society. Now it's all, what does this say on this paper? Like you can't judge somebody based on paper, because in the voice note you sent me, you were talking about different classes and programs. And that's something that we had as well, but a lot of it was like nothing. It was just a paper that said you attended this class, that another inmate taught, or maybe somebody from outside came in and taught, but nothing. Like, I have so many certificates and and you know, completion certificates and all of that that says that I did this and I did that. And in reality, I really don't think I did anything.
I have 3 friends now that can't even drive a car. They have forklift license that they got. And when they took the test. And when you get on the forklift, all you have to do is make sure you can drive in a straight line, probably about 10 feet. And there you go.
Right.
So what happens if they don't have the common sense to know and they come out here, oh, I want to get a job driving forklift. Bam. That's that's not good job security. Like that's unsafe. Like, but I've been locked up and I want this job really bad, so I'm gonna go for it. Not thinking of the safety of other people and myself that could get hurt. Not thinking that what y'all are doing is wrong. Like, y'all run this system and y'all tell people. I can think of so many times the commissioner came and everybody come and they do the dog and pony show and we throw paint and put down duct tape and throw paint over it, wax the floors,
paint the walls, all of that.
We had a big investigation at Lee Arundel, and they had the um, Department of Justice come down there. They came, and it's supposed to have been a big investigation. They supposed to have been questioning some. I don't know how this list got picked, but as I'm watching the people that get picked on this list to go up there, and I'm sitting there like, y'all smart. Y'all real smart. I don't know how this list got picked. I don't know how these particular people got picked, but y'all are smart because not one of us who speak out all the time, who's constantly writing grievances, who's constantly doing letters, not one of us got picked to be questioned. Not one of us. We were waiting. We were excited. We had everything written out. We already knew what we were going to do. We had a plan, what to tell them, and none of us got picked. Matter of fact, we couldn't even go to our jobs that day. We had to be locked inside of a facility. And I'm thinking to myself, if they had let us out and we had talked, what difference would it have made? Because those people aren't blind. They came there for the investigation. Y'all aren't stupid.
They know what's going on.
Y'all know exactly what's going on. And just because prisons are $1 billion industry, nobody cares.
Right.
Because look at the money that they're bringing in, but they're not looking at the souls that it's taken. You have 17-year-olds coming there with 112 years. I'm mad. I'm angry. My mom's a drug addict. I've been living on the streets. I got hooked up with a gang. I did something terrible. I'm already pissed off, and then you lock me up. I'm even more pissed off. So I'm just the most angriest 17-year-old you've ever seen. And then not only that, you've locked me up in this cage, and you gave me no hope. Somebody once asked me what's the scariest thing I've ever seen, and it's a human being with no hope. That's the scariest thing you've ever seen. A human being with no hope is the scariest. They turn into some of the worst animals that you could name. Just put them all in there together because they don't see no hope. I'm 17 years old and you give me 3 life sentences plus 60 years or 112 years plus this run consecutive. What's that telling me? My life meant nothing. And this is me now. So guess what? It makes it dangerous for the officers. It makes it dangerous for other inmates. When you do that, you give them no hope and nothing to work toward. So therefore, they become dangerous to themselves and to everyone around them. And that's what's going on inside of female prisons. It's been going on inside of male's prison. But female prisons have never been to the extent that they are now. They're tying people up. putting them up under the bed, using their phones to extort money from their families. Males have been doing this, and we heard about it, but females, no, sir. We have not. They are actually raping other females. We have never, when we first heard that, everybody was shocked. It just like a whole shock went through the whole prison system because we had a code, and that was one of them that we never broke. So that was telling me that we were evolving and getting worse and worse and worse. And it's just going to get worse because, for one, nobody cares. You got underpaid officers working there. You got officers that don't even, they're not even in their 20s yet working there.
Definitely.
And they don't have the experience, the training. All they know is I tell you what to do and you do it. And if not, I'm going to make you. And that makes them feel superior. And that's where they're wrong. Because then you're going to have somebody across from you just as angry and more dangerous than you are. And they're pissed off at the world. And when you come at them, how you're coming at them, they're going to come at you back. So that you just made your life. You just put your life in danger. Because now females are getting more dangerous than the males. Not more dangerous, but as dangerous.
That's it's crazy. It's just crazy because someone once kind of broke it down to me at 18, for the most part, because a lot of these people that are working in the prisons are coming from the same neighborhoods of the people that are inside the prisons. And it's like, you either make that choice, you go to one side of the law or the other, but they're still doing the same thing. We have officers that are gangbanging. We have officers that are selling drugs inside the prison. We have officers that are smuggling in their phones because officers starting paying like $32,000 a year. You can't live off of that. And when you're coming in every day and you're young, 18, 19, 20 years old, this is your first job, and you have grown adults, 30, 40 years old, that have been locked up forever, as long as you've been alive, and they are offering you money that you've never seen. You've never seen this much money before. All you gotta do, go. My homeboy's gonna pull up on you and give you this little package. You bring it to me, I'm gonna give you $5,000. Of course they're gonna do it. They ain't never seen $5,000 at one time before.
Easy money.
Easy money. And I can't speak for every state in the country, but Georgia has a bad problem with drugs, phones, gang banging, which is crazy because it's not even like a gang banging state. Like it's not California, it's not Chicago. Like
Right.
I don't understand it, but that is the reality of the situation of what's really going on. And it's dangerous. There's officers that are getting, caught up in like murders inside of the prison, and the corruption goes so high that the warden is involved. There was one time in the hole, they let one person out and they let another person out, and they knew that other person was going to attack that person. That person ended up killing the other one. There was one officer. I was like, I'm not going to lie and say that that's not what happened. And she got fired because she wouldn't lie with everybody else. And then once you get fired, who can you go to? Who can you tell?
Mm.
These people don't have to answer to anybody. And it's crazy.
No, and the stuff that goes on inside of there. I used to sit down there and look, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me! This stuff really happens, and nobody ever says anything, and nobody cares." And women, they get their phones, and some of the stuff that these I never took to getting a phone because it was just too much trouble. It was way too much trouble, and I didn't want to be involved in that type of stuff that led to those phones. But some women have phones, and you see what the officer's doing, and you're not taking a picture, you're not putting it on camera. I like none of this stuff is being produced. Like y'all, are not sharing this and putting it out there for the people to see. It's like y'all don't even care about your own self. You have to be here. So why don't you record that instead of you record yourself over here shaking your butt and your friends over here smoking? Like, record them what they're doing. Record when you go into this kitchen and you got rats running all through the trays and roaches, and they're getting food out of the trash because they forgot to feed a dorm, and they're feeding it to the last dorm, and they're getting it out of the trash. And you see this. This is the type of stuff you need to be recording. I witnessed that. Like, you're getting it out of the trash. Oh, we forgot to feed dorm such and such. Let's get this. Just pull it off top. Get that off top. Shh, get it off top. Are you serious? You're gonna be a part of this? Are you serious? So what happens? I'm gonna statement. I'm finna tell.
The problem with the
Trash.
the system, the grievance system is you can't write a grievance on the people that read the grievances. Like, what?
They investigate.
It's the same people that you're trying to tell on that you're
Yeah.
telling to. Like, they don't care that. But I've written so many grievances and
I even said I've had people to actually send them out, and they would send them back in because they would bring up some particular rule that you didn't go through the proper grievance procedure. So that's something you threw out there to send it back so that they may see, because y'all all working together. Right. And see, GDC is so smart. And see, people thought I was crazy when I said this. And from the stuff that I seen, I knew I wasn't crazy. But if I hadn't seen the stuff that I seen, I probably would have thought I was crazy too. They took cigarettes out of the prisons to make it. They made cigarettes $1 billion industry. Definitely. They made cigarettes. You could get a pack of cigarettes for $2,800 when you pay $9 and $10 out here on the street, and you pay $2,100. Trust me, that is so true. I know because I've done it.
I've seen it. I was paying $25 for. This is how bad it is that we're measuring it in cc's, and the little cup that comes on top of the Robitussin bottle. Mm-hmm. You fill it up to the line right here. That's $25. It's a little sprinkle of tobacco.
Yeah, yeah. Women were taking their tampon paper. You would go to somebody's room, you would see them with a Ziploc bag full of tampons with no paper on it, and they were taking the paper, and that's how they measured their weed. If it's that long, cut it. Put your cigarette, okay, and you probably got like 3-4 little strings of tobacco in there, and you're paying $3 for that, and it gets higher the more strings you get. And people and the officers seen how much money these inmates were making off this, so they decide, I want a piece of the pie. So they started bringing in 10, 20 packs, and you're making 10 grand like in one day. Like, people were called, hey, mama send this, hey, boom, 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 and you're making 10 grand. But nobody ever stopped to think of after all the money you've accumulated and all this stuff you got, prison stuff, you're still here. Your kids are getting older. Your family members are dying off. You're not being able to go to your son, your daughter, your grandbaby, your mother, your father's funeral because the county says, no, we don't feel like picking her up today. No, she's too much of a risk. So you don't get to attend their funeral.
And it's such that one mistake, one little action that you make in short few minutes of your life, and they judge you on that for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I know most of the lifers that we always kept like in packs, and we always tried to stay together because we were gonna be there the longest. After everybody was gone, we still was gonna be there. So we kind of stayed together, and the majority of us, it was our very first time getting into trouble, and it had to be huge, and we paid dearly. And I just feel so sad for those that were still left behind, and I got a chance to get out. And it's just the unfairness that my crime was worse than yours. And if you wanna sit down there and document resumes and talk about what they've done, it exceeds mine also. I didn't go in there and just do anything. But if I was sitting back looking and I had on this hand thinking, now here's Kamika Turner and here's such and such. She's got like 5 college classes where she only took 1. Now she's got no years. She's got like 10. She's gonna come back. Let her out.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I've said this many times. There was more people that had life sentences that I would feel comfortable getting out and moving in next door to my mom than some of the people that have 2 and 3 years.
Those were the worst ones, the ones short timers that came into the prison because they weren't gonna be there long. So let's raise as much hell as we can possible. Let's do. That's where most of the stuff that I learned, most of the stuff that we learned, that's where we learned it from. Them watching them, and it's nothing they could do to them because they're gonna get out in a little while, and all this will be kissed bye bye, and they'll be forgotten. So they leave and come in, and when they do, they end up making new rules for us. Like something that wasn't a rule, it's now a rule because they've done it, and they don't care. Like all the gates being locked, and they no longer now diagnostics no longer get shoes. You get Crocs. So when it rains, guess what?
Wet feet.
If you can't afford shoes, you got wet feet. And you're going to go where they tell you to go, rain, sleet, or snow. And it snows up there. And they'll trust me. And if they tell you got to come out there and go somewhere and you ain't got no shoes, oh well. They don't issue raincoats anymore. The only people who had raincoats was the lifers because we've kept ours for 15, 20 years. Because we know what the state does. It gives and it takes away, and it claims it doesn't have money, but this is $1 billion industry. No, man. Somebody's pocketing something. Y'all got enough money to feed us steak dinners hot for every meal and give us a pair of Jordans and a LeBron jersey to wear too. That's how much money they got. But of course, they're always broke.
Right. It's crazy because I was at Hancock State Prison and they had what was called the evidence based program. The biggest crock of shit I've ever seen in my life. There was no. At first, at the beginning, it was it's new and oh we're gonna do this and we're gonna paint the dorms up and make it look nice and we got y'all new stuff and we put PlayStations in the dorm and we have classes that y'all can take and we have incentive meals 2 and 3 times a month and then that just slowly dwindled away. But the officers are having parties up front that we can't go to. We can't even see what's going on. And they up there giving away TVs and gift cards and blenders and all kind of stuff. That money is coming from this program that's supposed to be helping better people so that they can get out and become a productive member of society. I tell you, that program did not help anything. There was no benefits from that. Only thing I will say is that it was kind of like you could dangle, like when you dangle the carrot in front of the donkey to make it go. It was kind of like that. It was like, oh, well, you guys, y'all better act right, or y'all won't get these chicken boxes.
Yep.
Y'all better, y'all know the inspections coming. y'all know the inspections coming. Y'all better act right. Y'all won't get these chicken boxes. We gonna take the PlayStation. Please take them. Don't do nothing. It's just something for people to
I'm
argue
still
over.
sitting here in prison, locked up in a cage. Take it.
I tell you, I played the PlayStation maybe one time. That's because I woke up early one morning and wasn't nobody on it. I went and played it maybe 10 minutes. I'm still in prison. This ain't helping me.
I had a couple of friends. They worked front hall, and they used to be the helpers that help hand out these meals. And they used to come back so angry and mad sometimes watching the officers walk out with 10 and 15 boxes of chicken, or the day we have sub sandwiches, they get 8 and 9 subs, medical department, or admin. They're gonna get all this food, stuffing it in their cars that were supposed to be for us. But y'all get all this food, but it's not supposed to be for y'all, period. Now I have no problem with them giving them a sandwich or even one box, but 10 and 11 and all that extra stuff that they have, they're taking it home. Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, I wouldn't, if I was an officer that actually, I wouldn't even feel comfortable with taking out of the mouth of people who don't get to eat warm or decent food but once every blue moon. I wouldn't even feel comfortable with doing that. But did you think they care?
They don't care. They don't care if you eat. I had one time, my roommate and I, they called breakfast. We were the last two out. It's like, oh, it's too late. We were able to get out the door. We get down the sidewalk, and the lieutenant's like, "Oh no, y'all got to go back. Y'all can't eat. We can't eat."
And that's supposed to be against the rules, right? You can't deny them a meal.
Who you gonna tell?
Who you gonna tell? Exactly.
What are they gonna do? Even if there was somebody that would tell we done missed the meal.
Yeah.
They're not gonna give us another one.
Yeah.
So
you just asked out. And that's happened plenty of times. Do you know how many times that's happened? I done seen it happen so many times. It's just ridiculous. I used to feel so bad. I would go up to my locker and actually sit down and cook this particular person a meal because I couldn't stand for nobody to go hungry. Because even though I wasn't one of the people, because my sister provided for me and made sure I had, but people had to go to that child. They had to eat that crap. They had to eat out those trays that I sat there and watched rats run across and maggots being dumped out, and then you just throw the damn food on top of it. I saw this shit with my own eyes because I worked there. I saw it.
I was working in the kitchen when I was in diagnostic at Jackson State Prison. It was Thanksgiving. We didn't have any more soap. They said just rinse it off. It'll be okay. Just rinse off the trays.
They say use hot water.
Yeah, just use some hot water. It'll
no matter about the maggots, the bugs, the rats.
The rats at Jackson look like cats. Like they're big. Like it's crazy. And then when they come through and do their little regional inspection or whatever, they just got you in there. Just everybody just make a bunch of noise. Y'all slamming stuff just to scare the rats away. They running from the noise while the people are there, so there's no rats running around. But then the people leave and everything goes back to normal. There's rats running up the walls, rats inside the pantry, digging through the grits.
Oh, y'all inmate caretaker.
The inmate caretaker? I don't know what that is.
Ain't no such thing.
Yeah. Y'all supposed to have one representative in the whole prison that y'all can go to at any given time.
Fairy tale.
That's not real.
Well, I guess because I worked at a minimum security prison before I became lieutenant of prison,
Yeah, I guess. But I never heard of such.
You should have died in Jackson, Hayes, I mean,
yeah.
you got supposed to have one representative.
Never heard of such.
And the shakedowns are so like
horrible,
so disrespectful.
You know how much of my clothes they messed up, my food they stunk.
Stepping on pictures of my family.
They threw a whole photo album in the trash. A whole photo album in the trash. I never found it. It was a little tiny one. They had but like 15 pictures in it, but.
And the crazy part is, they know everything because these dudes in these dorms don't know how to shut the fuck up. So they'll go to medical and they want to be bragging about who does what. And they know who has phones.
Yeah.
They know who sells drugs. They know who cooks alcohol. They know who the store man is. They know everything. They don't care. They're going to go in and mess up everybody's stuff.
I overheard a deputy warden came to work at our prison and she ended up getting punched in the face. And because she didn't know this particular inmate, and this particular inmate didn't take nothing off of staff. She don't care, beat her up, send her lockdown. She don't care. You're not going to yell at her. You're not going to talk any kind of way to her. And that's just how she lived. And the staff member, was so used to running up on inmates, yelling in their face, and you couldn't do this to this particular inmate. And she didn't know that because she was new. And she happened to do it and she got punished. Well, almost a year later, I guess she still held resentment because she approached a friend of mine and asked her, the friend is fight her, and stay in trouble. And she kind of said that if you kick her, I'll make sure you live with your girlfriend. And I thought that was just really weird. So I decided, I'm going to investigate. How many other times have this happened? And I was so shocked that that goes on more than I even knew because I got moved to an underdorm because GDC decided this is how the prison fit. You have a certain amount of lifers in each dorm. They keep the dorm to a certain, they keep security in the dorm to a certain degree. The gang members and all of them, they hold them to a certain standard. And they keep down a lot of the stuff that goes on in there that could. So they took all of us out of those dorms, which I knew was a trap, and stuck us all in one dorm. Mm-hmm. So what do you think happened to the rest of those dorms? Oh, it was called the Thunderdome. Oh, yes. First you had 2 Thunderdorms, but then all of a sudden you've got 5. Oh. So this was done on purpose to cause this type of chaos. Mm-hmm. Because y'all knew that this was going to happen. We warned you. We told you. Y'all might have been working in corrections for 20-some years, but we've been living in it for 30 and almost 30. So you can't tell us nothing we don't know. We're down in the trenches. And they turned these dorms and made this prison the worst. That's when everything started going downhill. The gangs started building. They had nobody to actually step in and help small civilians. And the gang members started accumulating. Then people were like, shoot, I can't beat them. I might as well join them. Then all of a sudden, you got more gangs. You got more drugs. You got more drones. You got more fighting, more hurting. I remember one day we didn't see it or hear an officer for almost 5 hours until they came to count. And sometimes they don't even count. They don't even count. Yep, some of them don't even do that.
And during COVID, had to be the worst. What year did you get out?
23.
Okay.
Just recently.
So you got out
yeah.
Right I got out 22. Okay. During COVID, man, it was times where we ain't seen an officer for 12 hours from the time they pushed in the trades into the dorm. We're not going to see them again until they bring breakfast.
Yep, they weren't coming anywhere near us. They were scared.
They were scared they were going to catch them. How are you going to catch it from us? We in here. You have to bring it in.
Yeah, we're in a controlled environment. That's what they didn't understand. Yeah. All this other stuff, colds and all this, that they brought them bugs in their scabies, which I end up contracting. Y'all brought all that in because we were a controlled environment. They even kept the diagnostics on the other side of the compound, so they weren't even down there. Was you people brought that down there? But you act like we're the disease carriers, and y'all was scared of us.
And they were tripping about masks. We all live in this dorm together. There's 96 men living in this dorm together, living on top of each other, 2 men to a cell, and y'all want to make us wear masks. But we got to wear masks going to chow. We walking down the sidewalk with masks on. But then when we get inside the chow hall, we all gonna take them off to eat.
It don't make sense.
It don't make any sense. People were getting in trouble, sent to the hole because they didn't want to wear the mask. This is.
I was sitting there one day. We were unloading the truck for the kitchen, and we were getting boxes of meat, and of course, we have to pick the boxes up, and you got like a slit in the bottom of it, I guess, so it can breathe, and your hand gets on the bottom. It's summertime, so they unload the truck. The meat has to sit there for a minute before we have to count it before we actually put it in there. So we have to make sure everything's counted so this truck can leave. Then we can get to work and start putting it in where some of it starts to defrost. And so I picked up the box, my hand went inside of there, and it's got blood all over it. Now, this meat has no plastic on it. Y'all threw it in the bottom of a box with holes in the bottom of them. What kind of contamination is that?
I don't care. They don't have to eat it.
Exactly.
And just because we committed a crime, we're not
Who cares? They did this, they did that. Who cares? You know? And I don't want to sit back and say that I don't agree with prisons. I don't agree with how they're ran, you know?
Right.
And I'm not saying that people should not be punished for the things that they do, because if you break the law, then the law states that you should be punished. Okay. But I do have a big problem with the law not being fair. That's my biggest problem. It's not being fair. And y'all are treating people inhumane. I don't care what somebody have done. You can't just sit down there and treat them like they're animals. Because you can't tell me somebody who went to prison when they were 17 is going to be the same person when they're 30 and 40 years getting out. I went to prison when I was 18 years old. I got out when I was 47. 47. You know how hard it was to get a job with a head full of gray hair? I had to die just so people would hire me. Like my whole head was gray. So it's just they give us these groups and these trades, and you have us take them, but you keep us in there for 20 and 30 years. I took welding, but y'all didn't let me go home after I took welding. So I took a welding class that lasted a year, and then I stayed in there for an extra 6 or 7 more years without even being able to use what I've learned. Right. If you don't use it, you lose it. So all this stuff that I learned, it just goes up in smoke. So what good were you doing to help me? You wasn't giving me any training, any job help. If you were going to keep me in prison another 20 something years after you gave me a trade to help me when I get out. And that's another thing. They used to didn't allow lifers to take trades at all. At all. We weren't allowed at all. We fought against that, and we were finally able to take trades, and y'all give them to us and still keep us in prison because the parole board says that the victim's family gets the last say so. I realize people are hurt, and I realize we as inmates did something wrong and we should be punished. But what I don't realize is 30, 40, 20, 15 years later, people still harbor that resentment and that hurt, and then that's never going to go anywhere. It's never going to go anywhere. So how many times do you let them get to come up and say, well, I don't want them out because I'm hurt or I hate them? Do you know how long that could go on for a person to harbor that type of hatred?
Long time.
They should be able to have to take groups. You have the inmate take groups because of what they done, but the victim's family come up there and complaining year after year after decade after decade, and you don't think nothing's wrong with that person? Right. It's something wrong with you if you're still coming up here 30 years later hating somebody for something they did when they were a teenager or years ago, and telling us not to let them out without even talking to them or seeing what type of person they are.
Everybody does something stupid when they're 17, 18, 19 years old. Everybody does something stupid.
And you never know what the outcome is going to be. Right. A friend of mine did firecrackers, and you were sitting there putting them in a can. The can fell over. The rocket came out, went to this lady's car who was coming down the street. She had a wreck. Now tell me that was his fault. Yes, you were stupid. You were playing with firecrackers, but you didn't mean for anybody to die. Right. But you had to go do a life sentence. He did. Right. And he was only 16 years old. So you get to go to juvenile, turn 17. You're going there with grown men who's going to do God knows what to him. And when he got out, he ended up killing himself.
Crazy.
And that's sad that he done something and made a mistake. And he had to pay for it with his life. And if he did live, he'd been paying for it for the rest of his life if he wouldn't have killed himself. He didn't mean for that lady to die. He was just a kid doing something stupid. But you have to stop and think, what if it was your kid? Right. your mom, your child, your father, your uncle, your brother who does something stupid, or your sister, would you want them to be in that same predicament? Would you want people to hate them for the rest of their life and keep them locked up in a cage?
It's crazy. And I don't like the fact that they don't look at each situation case by case. They just look at the charge.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how, what happened, what the circumstances were, oh, this is what you charged with, this is how much time you get. You don't even, like, it's insane.
The same thing with me and my co-defendant. I actually pulled the trigger and killed someone accidentally, but it was stupid and I should never had a gun. But I didn't kill anybody on purpose. I just want to state that. But he got more time than I did. He got life, 60 years. He didn't kill anybody. He never touched the trigger to kill anybody. Why did he? And what? That's not even a bad part. He actually gave y'all. He gave y'all all the information. He told y'all everything y'all wanted to know. He was actually cooperative. Matter of fact, he gave y'all whole case wrapped up in a bow like it was a Christmas present. And do y'all think y'all took it in his time off? He's still there now. And I'm out. What type of fairness is that?
Same thing with me and my co-defendant. I was charged with the armed robbery. My co-defendant went in the store and robbed somebody and came back out. And at that point, we gotta go. We gotta get out of here. We ended up getting arrested down the road. But I got charged with the armed robbery. I got treated as a violent offender, but I never committed any violence. Yet we got the same amount of time. Like Georgia, I can't speak for every state, but if it's five of us, we in the car, we driving down the street. I get out. I said, "Hold on, I'll be right back." I go in this house and kill somebody. Come back in the car. We drive down the road. We get pulled over. We all getting charged with murder.
That's what happened with my one of my best friends, and her name is Amisha, and she was with her friend who shot several people, and Amisha ended up getting life sentences, like more than one, for these particular murders, and she never even pulled the trigger, and she never even had a gun of her own. She never coerced anybody. She never lured anybody to their death. She just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And she was in shock about what happened. So now she's paying for it and being seen as a murderer around the world because their case was a high priority case. And now everybody hates her because she didn't act at that particular moment and go get help or turn the girl that she was with in for these crimes. And she's a mother. Her first thought was, I need to make it home to my child. She's not thinking about nothing else. She's scared, she's frightened, she's in shock, and that's what she wants to do. But of course, since she didn't go and do the cops' jobs for them, she gets life sentences and have to spend most of her life or the rest of her life, who knows, with the parole board in prison. And that's sad. And my girlfriend, she was 15 years old. She ran away from home because her and her mom got into it. And when she ran away from home, she went with her boyfriend and his friend. They were 2 years older than her. They decided they're going to steal a car. So they told her, you stay right here behind the bushes and we're going to go steal this car. So they go steal a car. Just so happens they kill two people. They run and grab her, throw her in the car. She don't even know that they done killed two people at this point. She learned it on the way, but before it happened, she didn't. They're hauling, getting it. So just so happens, boom, cops take them on. They take the cops on the high speed chase. Boyfriend kills himself. Oh, so somebody finna have to take We got to get our pint of blood from somebody. Boyfriend just killed himself. Little girl, I don't care if you didn't do nothing. I don't care if you are 15 years old. Somebody's got to pay for this. Come on. 15-year-old girl got put in solitary confinement for 2 years alone by herself until she turned 17 to be put out in population.
Solitary confinement is that's a whole nother monster. The longest I did 9 months in the hole, but that's because I was trying to I was at Smith State Prison, and they were just it was killing everybody. Pretty much, inmates killing each other, officers killing inmates. The inmates attacking officers. It was to the point where I didn't even want to be there, so I felt the best thing for me to do was to go to the hole
Smart.
and sit there until they transferred me. It took them 9 months because they were asking me what was the reason. I don't want to be here anymore. Put me just send me to another prison. I don't care. Just send me to another
They be
prison.
want you to give a name or
Yeah,
say you
that's
feel
exactly what
threatened.
they say.
Uh-huh.
You
As
gotta give
soon as
me a
you give them
name.
the name, they're going to tell that person.
Yeah, soon as you can't give somebody a name. That's crazy. The old saying, "Snitches get stitches," which not always true. A lot of times, snitches just get extra incentive meals.
Yes, I've seen it. Trust me. Yes.
But I wasn't gonna put myself in that situation to where, oh, now you get to the next prison and they call the first prison I was at, and then, oh, you was in the whole snitching, and then you just in a whole another situation.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It took them 9 months. Finally, somebody that I was talking to, and he was in the room next to me. He's like, bro, just tell him my name. Just give him my name. I told him
Yes.
that. I was gone the next week.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've had so many women. One time, our lockdown was so filled up with women seeking protection, protective custody. They didn't have room to lock the people down that were actually deserving to go to lockdown because they had so many in there for protective custody trying to hide because the officers weren't protecting them. Like you had officers popping doors, letting inmates into other inmates' rooms at night, or they stopped locking it, getting out, and the other inmate that's in the room with you is open the door for them to come in and get you. And they're kicking you out of your room and making you sleep in mop closets and up under tables. And the officers are seeing this and like, that's not my problem. I'm come here to do my little 8, 9 hours, 12 hours, and I'm leaving. I'm not gonna worry about what's going on inside here. They don't care. Then the warden comes down there and show her face and threaten people for about a good hour. And it's usually the ones who ain't done anything. You're out here, you'll go to the dorm that's the best dorm and you'll threaten them and throw their clothes all on the floor. But then you get over here to the dorm where they're smoking weed, shaking their ass and got phones and doing all this. And y'all be like, well, if y'all act good, we're going to do y'all this. But you sat over here to this dorm where they do everything right. And you can only bring inspection over to this dorm, but you want to come over here and talk shit. That used to make me so mad that you go over here and speak to them with respect because you don't want them to act up or show out. But then you come over here with the ones who give you respect, and the only dorm you could go to actually get workers to actually work in places that y'all can't put nobody else because they either rob you blind, poison you, or steal everything from you. So y'all go to this one particular dorm where we lived, and y'all take us to get all the jobs that y'all can't put nobody else. But then y'all want to come and give us y'all behinds to kiss and treat us like dogs. And anytime they want to move somebody in a raggedy tore up dorm, they go straight to G1 and get them out of the other dorm because they know you're not gonna balk. You're not gonna say anything. But we go over here, we know they're gonna balk, they're gonna tear stuff up. So we can only put y'all there because y'all ain't gonna balk, y'all ain't gonna say nothing. Because y'all lifers and y'all trying to keep it straight because y'all don't want to get a parole, not one, nothing to deny y'all, which I can tell them is mute because they're going to deny you regardless. Whether you have 50 tickets or none, that's what they do because they have to answer to nobody and no one and their God.
Yep. Yeah, it's sad, man. I knew a guy that had a 7-year life sentence like you did, and I'm pretty sure he's still there.
Yeah,
He's still there,
my
and
friend's still there.
never had a DR, never got in trouble. Worked at the same detail for 10 plus years. Um, gets a visit every week from his family. Don't cause no trouble. He sits in his door in his room and plays on his tablet and reads. Don't bother nobody,
And
and they won't let him go.
it's same with my friend. She's got a 7-year life sentence, and she had a 5 for arson, which Rankin Karen ain't been did that, but 7-year life sentence. She got locked up in 1994. Her victim's family is rich. They have lots of money, and when I tell you they're vocal, they're vocal. They even paid a ex-mayor of another town to come in who don't even know her or know the victim, which was her boyfriend, for beating the hell out of her. That's why she killed him. But they don't even know. They hired him to actually get on there and say, do a newspaper article with a reporter and say, oh yeah, she did this and she did that and we don't want her out and I don't want her out. You don't even know her. You don't know her. She's smart. She does she works like an animal inside of that. Sometimes I used to tell her, why do you keep doing all this? And she said, I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for me because I'm going to be oldest, real old when I get out, and I'm trying to keep my body up. And that's why she does all the stuff that she do. She's smart. I mean, she had a little bit of college before she got there. Like she was actually going to college at Emory, studying the brain. Like when I tell you she's so smart, you have staff members coming to her, and it's nothing that she don't do for them. Like if you was to take the warden out, you could actually put her in a place and have her run the freaking place. Like that's how much she does. They come to her, and I find it amazing to be like, call such and such. She needs to come up here and do this. She needs to come up here and do. They used to pull her so much one job couldn't keep her because everybody wanted a piece of her because they wanted her to work in certain areas. That's how smart she is. But she can't get out of prison. And her family ain't, her husband's not poor. Like he's got a little bit of money and he does everything he can, but he can't fight against the rich family and the parole board. And, every time I bring it up that they might be paying them, they look at me like, really? And I want to look at them like, really? You don't think so? Because I really do.
I think so too.
Yeah, I can't prove it. Of course, I can't prove it. I'll never be able to prove it. That's why they can do what they want to do and how they do it. Because you won't be able to prove it. Never.
Yeah, it's a mess. I'm glad that you made it out though.
Me too. And I'm glad to be able to do this interview. I'm glad that I had a chance to be able to speak out. I don't know what difference it will make or if it will make a difference at all, but I had to do something. And I had to say something. I'm tired of being quiet about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are being abused and treated wrong, and they don't have a voice. There's nothing that they can do about it. Nothing. I one time was in the hole. This man got into a fight with his roommate. Really didn't even get into a fight with his roommate. Just beat him up. His roommate beat him up and kicked him out the room. And there was no other room for them to put him in. They had this man. They put him in the shower. They said, "All right, we're gonna put you in the shower till the lieutenant gets here." This was Saturday night. Lieutenant didn't show up till Monday morning. That man was in the shower from Saturday night to Monday morning. The only reason they let him out on Monday morning is because they had to run the showers. They brought his trays. Oh, but we can't give you a tray while you in the shower. So they have his food just stacked on the officer's desk. And nobody want to eat food that's been sitting out for 2 days. You already don't want to eat the food.
Period.
Definitely not after it's been sitting out for 2 days. But it's like, what can he do about that? They should not have been allowed to do that to him.
Yeah. You feel so helpless sometimes.
Yeah.
Like nobody's listening, nobody cares because you are the wrong type of person and you're in the wrong place for anybody to care. And the few people that do care, like it's like they're not even being heard.
And that's why it's important for us to do this, because we went through it. We saw it firsthand of what's really going on. And I know that there's people that I have left behind, and it's sad because I got out in 2022. Since I've been out, I've been to Florida, I've been to California, Texas, New York, and I'm still in touch with people on the inside, and they were sitting in that same dorm, doing the same shit, making a pocket, watching TV,
Going through the same
going
stuff.
through the same stuff every day in and day out. And I understand there's there should be repercussions for your actions, but what is just locking somebody up? What is that doing?
Throwing
You're
away the
just
key.
hiding them from
Yeah.
society. There's the European prisons where they teach you a trade, they get you a job, they get you an education.
Georgia just makes you angry
Right.
and mad and hateful and vengeful because they throw you in there and treat you like an animal or a dog and don't give you no hope. And when they finally do let you out, they've created a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And then they be like, well, we locked her up and let her out and she still did this. But you don't tell what you did to her while she was in there.
Yes.
They go in.
Trauma.
Yeah, you go in as a person that committed a crime or done something bad for the first time or just a badass kid. And then you get in there and get turned into a hateful grown up.
And you're surrounded by nothing but
Hate.
Criminals. So you're not learning anything but how to be a better criminal. If you go and talk to everybody in the prison, everybody in the dorm with you, ask them what you did to get here. Oh, okay. So now I know I can do that, but I know how to get away with it because I see how you got caught. When I got out, I had every reason to be mad, to hate the world. I had every reason, but I didn't because I made that choice that I was gonna get out and I was gonna make something of myself, and I was gonna prove them wrong. I was gonna be the opposite of the statistics, but not everybody's like that.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that mindset. There are people that need to be told what to do all the time. And when there is nobody telling them what to do, they just see what everybody else is doing. They see people, oh, they robbing and they stealing and they gang banging and they drinking liquor. And that's what I want to do too. And it just makes for more, just, I don't even know the word. It's not healthy.
No, it's not.
And I feel like as a society, as American people, I want what's best for everybody.
Yeah, you keep us in there for so long, and then when you finally let us out, we don't have like you keep me in there for 30 years. Everything done passed me by. So now that I'm getting out, I feel like a baby that's just been born. Like I feel like I don't know anything, and I feel like I don't have a clue about anything. Hold on just a minute. Yeah, so it's just sad. It's sad the way they keep us in there for so long and then let us out, and just it's just like y'all just kick a newborn baby out on the street and say just learn what you can or do what you're supposed to do. How's that even possible?
Before we wrap up, I just want to, you know, try to end on a positive note. What do you think? I don't know if it's necessarily positive, but what do you think was dealing with reentry, coming back into society after doing all that time? What was the hardest part, and what was easy for you?
The hardest part was seeing family members I hadn't seen in 20 some years, and then finally seeing them, they're strangers. Like you got your own sister and your brother, you don't even know them. I got people in prison. I spent more time with them than I did my own family.
My family's always asking, Why you always on the phone with people from prison? These are my friends.
They're my family. Like, I don't know you. I don't know when I left home, you were a child. Now you're a grown woman with kids and babies and grandkids. I don't know any of y'all. Any of y'all. I spent 18 years with y'all, but I spent 27 with them.
Right.
So it's a difference. And making friends, you scared of everybody because you don't want to go back to jail, or you don't know what type of person they are, or you don't know how to make friends because today's people are totally different from our type of people back in when I got locked up in the 90s. Man, when I got locked up, CDs was just coming out. now y'all got phones that talk. Bro, we didn't have phones. We had those big things. Those phones were this big and they had antennas on them when I got locked up. To see these things, you're like, wow, bro. Like,
grateful for you having me here to have this conversation.
And I appreciate you.
I'm definitely going to continue this, and hopefully we can get voices heard and make some sort of change. So, thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys, and I thank y'all so much for letting me be heard and actually help put my voice out there because I was trying, but I wasn't getting nowhere. So you probably do a better job than me.
I only got like 6 followers, but that number was up. And wow, being in that woman's house and just hearing her talk and having her speak to me about things that I didn't know that were going on in the women's prison system and the parallels between women's prisons and men's prisons, and just it's so much, and her voice needs to be heard. So thank you everybody that has listened this far. Thank you, Miss Kamika, for speaking to me and reaching out. And as usual, like, comment, share, subscribe. I'm Roq the Outsider, and this is the Outsider's Perspective podcast.